So if you want to start creating your own imaginary, original landscape, I'm going to show you exactly, step by step, how you can do that.
In this video, I'm going to be talking about some things you'll absolutely need before starting anything. Of course, we will be using Photoshop, so make sure that's installed. And do keep in mind, my version of Photoshop will probably be different than yours depending on when you watch this, as it's always being updated. But there should be nothing to worry about. All the core functions should be here, and all the tools and such should be relatively the same. Now, I know Photoshop can be expensive if you don't already have it, so if you do have another program that's similar, it may work, but I can't guarantee anything as Photoshop has some very specific tools we're going to be working with. Now, Adobe provides a free trial of their software, and if you're a student, they do give you a discount, so I'll provide a link down below if you don't already have the program. And just a quick note on hardware, I'm using a PC. It doesn't matter what you use as long as you can open up Photoshop. However, if you are using a Mac and I shout out a shortcut or something, the keys will most likely be different. And really the most common difference is when I say press Control on Mac, it's usually you have to press the Command button instead. Next, what you will absolutely need is a drawing tablet. Now, I don't want you guys to spend a lot of money, but trying to do this with a mouse will be almost impossible. You're never going to get great results, and it's going to be incredibly frustrating unless you use a drawing tablet. Now, there's lots of tablets to choose from. Do some research on this and come back. And I'd recommend the Wacom Intuos tablet. Wacom is definitely the top brand when it comes to these tablets, so they will be a little more expensive. However, they are really reliable and they'll last you pretty much forever. I personally started on the Wacom Intuos and it works great. I think you can get them on Amazon for about $80. However, if you're looking for something even cheaper, I'd recommend any beginner's tablet from Huion. I think as of now you can get a really cheap one for like $30, but that's really the lowest you'll find brand new. I'll link all these down below. The one I'll be using for this course is the Wacom Intuos Pro. It really doesn't matter which one you choose or have. Having a better tablet does not mean you will get better results. Getting better results comes down to you, and you have to remember that. If you've never used a tablet, get a beginner's tablet to see if you'll like even doing this at all. Of course, you can do more research on this, and I highly recommend that you do. So with that said, that is all the hardware and software you will need for this course. I do want to point out that this is not a course on how to use Photoshop. So although I'll be explaining things, I won't be going hugely into detail on the functions of Photoshop. If you don't know a lot about Photoshop, I do have another course all about how to use Photoshop for beginners, and that course will show you everything you need to know about the program, which I'll also link down below. Once you know how to use Photoshop, you can come back here and we can get started. We're going to be setting up everything so we can jump into the painting right away. I'm going to show some formats, sizes, and brushes I use in Photoshop. So let's go ahead and open up Photoshop, and you should end up with a screen sort of like this. And in here, we are going to make our file. So we can go ahead and make a preset over here. Let's call it landscape or whatever you want to call it. Make sure this is in pixels, and the format I always use is 3000 width by 1600 height. You can use any size you want, but whatever you choose to do, I suggest you try to stay consistent with it. As in, use that format for every landscape unless it's something really specific. Okay, Let's keep the resolution at 300 and the rest should be fine. Go ahead and press create and we now have our file. So one thing I do in all my landscapes is I love to add these cinematic black bars on the edges. This is completely optional and up to you if you want to use this, but to stay consistent, I tend to open up the last landscape I did and just bring those bars over to this file. These are really easy to create. If you want custom bars, first we need a new layer, and you can do that by pressing this button here. You can then go over to the toolbar and select the rectangle marquee tool. And next, you just start outside the canvas here and drag that selection inward to the other side. Once you're happy with your size, let go and we can go ahead and fill that in with black using the paint bucket tool. Now you need bars on the other side, and the easiest way to do that is to hold down the Alt button and in your selection, left click and drag to create a copy, and it should snap into place at the bottom. Okay, let's deselect that by pressing Control D or Command D, and let's go ahead and lock that layer so you don't paint over it. We won't need this background layer here, so we can just select that and hit the delete key. So now we're actually all set up here in terms of the file, and all we need to do is worry about some brushes and some windows. First, let's change our setup. Go up to this corner here, press this button and select painting. If you're already in painting, select reset painting. Okay, so first, we don't need swatches. Right-click that and press close. Next, we do need adjustments, so we can go up to Window, find Adjustments, drag it out, and dock it right here. We also should have History, so again, go up to Window, find History, and dock it up here. Okay, lastly, we need to deal with brushes. So I will say, I'm a big believer in that you only need one brush, sort of. We'll mainly be using one brush, but I have 3 brushes in total that we will be using. To make this as simple as possible, I have a download link you can click below in the course resources where you will find a brush pack. When you download it, you should see a file like this called Brush Pack. And while Photoshop is open, all you need to do is double-click the file and a new folder should pop up right here under Brushes. If that didn't work, you can press these 3 bars right here and find Import Brushes. This will bring up your files and all you need to do is find that brush pack. If for some reason you're still having problems with this, then the most I can recommend to you is to create a brush of your own or find another on the internet. There's tons and tons of videos on how to install them and tons of brush packs that are all free to download all over the internet. So what you need to do now is make sure your tablet is working, plugged in, and ready to go. If you've never used a drawing tablet, it's really straightforward. Holding the pen over it will let you move your mouse around, and applying pressure to it lets you paint in Photoshop. Play around with it and try to get used to it, especially with these new brushes I've provided. So with that said, we are now completely prepared to start creating our landscape. In the next video, we're going to get started.